My name is Rebecca Alvarez. I'm 35 years old, and I've been a police officer for almost 12 years. In Boston, Massachusetts, where I grew up and still live, I'm known for my dedication to my job. I joined the police force inspired by my biological father, who died in the line of duty as just 8 years old. His death impacted me, but it also planted within me the seed of duty and protection. I never imagined that my professional experience would be so useful at a gala event. Precisely when my stepfather, Richard Wilson, an influential businessman in Boston high society, made it clear that I didn't belong in that world. It was a Friday in October, the chilly air already heralding the approaching harsh autumn. I was invited to the annual fundraising gala for Boston Children's Hospital, a prestigious event that brings together the city's elite. The invitation came through my mother, Helena, who married Richard 7 years ago after being widowed for over a decade. I was reluctant to accept. Social events have never been my forte. I prefer the routine of the streets, the blue uniform, the adrenaline of events, but my mother insisted so much that I finally gave in. "It'll be good for you to get away from work for a bit, dear," she said over the phone, in that sweet voice she always used to convince me. On the night of the event, I chose a simple yet elegant black dress. I didn't have many options in my wardrobe, which was dominated by practical and comfortable clothes. I tied my brown hair in a low bun and applied subtle makeup. Looking in the mirror, I saw a different version of my selfless police officer, more Helena's daughter. When I arrived at the ballroom of the Fairmont Copley Plaza Hotel, I was momentarily dazzled. The place was decorated with white and gold flowers, soft lights illuminated the perfectly set tables, and an orchestra played classical music in the background. Elegantly dressed guests circulated with glasses of champagne, chatting in low, polite tones. I spotted my mother in the crowd. She was radiant in a navy blue dress that accentuated her light eyes. Beside her, Richard, tall and imposing in his impeccable tuxedo, was chatting with some guests. I took a deep breath and walked toward her. "Rebecca, dear, I'm so glad you came." My mother hugged me warmly, her familiar scent enveloping me for a moment. "Hi, Mom," I smiled, trying to hide the discomfort I felt in that environment. Richard gave me an appraising look, as if checking to see if I was presentable enough to be there. After a moment, he gave a curt nod. "Rebecca." His tone was polite, but distant. "I didn't expect to see you here tonight." "Richard," I replied in the same tone. Our relationship had always been cordial, but never warm. He never hid the fact that he considered my profession inappropriate for someone from the Wilson family, as if I had ever borne his surname. The conversation flowed stiltedly for a few minutes. We talked about the weather, the event, and trivialities that didn't require much emotional involvement. Then Richard was called by one of the organizers to speak with a major donor, and my mother accompanied him, not before saying to me, "Try to have some fun, dear. There are a lot of interesting people here." I stood alone for a moment, feeling completely out of place. I grabbed a glass of champagne from a passing waiter and decided to wander around the room, people watching. It was something I did instinctively, observing, analyzing, paying attention. Years of police work had taught me never to let my guard down, even in seemingly safe situations. That's when I noticed something strange. A man in a dark suit, apparently in his 40s, was staring intently at a group of people across the room. His behavior caught my attention. He wasn't interacting with anyone, just observing with a disturbing intensity. I followed his gaze and saw that it was fixed on a blonde woman whom I later recognized as Vanessa Morrison, a famous pop singer who had come to perform at the event. I decided to approach casually. As I moved around the room, I kept the man in my field of vision. He began to move too, discreetly following Vanessa's movement. My police instincts were on high alert now. I was just a few meters away from him when I bumped into someone. "Sorry," I started to say, turning to the person I had collided with. Richard. "Always clumsy," he commented with a forced smile, adjusting his bow tie. "Maybe you should sit in a corner so you don't get in the way." I ignored the comment, my attention still divided between him and the suspicious man. "You should go back to the family table," Richard continued, lowering his voice. "This kind of event requires a certain ... finesse. You understand, don't you? You just don't belong here." His words hit me like a slap. It wasn't the first time he'd insinuated that I wasn't sophisticated enough for his world, but he'd never, been so direct. I'm sure you'd feel more comfortable in a cop bar, he added condescendingly. Why don't you leave? Your mother would understand. Before I could respond, the lights in the hall dimmed and a presenter took the stage to announce the evening's headliner, Vanessa Morrison. Enthusiastic applause filled the room as the singer, stunning in a gold gown, walked to the center of the stage. Momentarily distracted by the situation with Richard, I lost sight of the suspicious man. My eyes frantically scanned the room until I spotted him again. He was now closer to the stage, his hand inside his jacket. My body reacted instinctively. I abandoned Richard without explanation and began moving quickly toward the man. My mind calculated distances, assessed risks, and considered the presence of security guards on site, who seemed completely oblivious to the imminent. That's when everything happened so fast. The man pulled a gun from his jacket and leaped onto the stage in one swift movement. His screams began to echo through the hall. Vanessa froze in place, her eyes wide with terror. I finally found you, Vanessa, the man shouted, pointing the gun at the singer. Did you read my letters? Did you get my messages? I recognized the behavior immediately. An obsessive stalker. In my years as a police officer, I dealt with similar cases, but never an event of this magnitude with hundreds of people in a panic. Without a second thought, I pushed my way through the panicked crowd, which was now moving toward the exits. I saw that security guards were trying to get to the stage, but the chaos made their movements difficult. Police, get down! I yelled as I approached the stage. I wasn't armed, but I needed to buy time. The stalker turned toward me, momentarily confused. I took advantage of this hesitation to climb onto the stage and position myself between him and Vanessa. Stand back, I ordered, in the firm voice I used when conducting police stops. Put the gun down now. Who are you? The man shouted, waving his gun nervously. This has nothing to do with you. Vanessa and I have business to attend to. I'm a police officer, I replied calmly, maintaining eye contact. And you're scaring a lot of people here, including Vanessa. Let's talk calmly, okay? Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Vanessa was still frozen behind me. I had to get her out of there. You don't understand, the man, growing more agitated. She's been ignoring me for years. All my letters, all my messages were made for each other. I understand you're frustrated, I continued, taking a small step toward her. But this isn't the way to solve this. Let's talk somewhere else, just you and me. As I spoke, I made a subtle movement with my hand, indicating for Vanessa to move slowly to the side of the stage. She seemed to understand and began to back away slowly. The man noticed the movement and pointed the gun at the singer again. Don't move. It was at that moment that I made a risky decision. I quickly advanced on him, taking advantage of his divided attention. I managed to grab his gun arm and pull it upward just as the gun went off, hitting the ceiling. The sound of the shot amplified the panic in the room. We struggled for a few seconds until I managed to apply a restraining technique, forcing him to the ground and twisting his arm until the gun fell. I kept him immobilized with my knee in his back, panting from the physical exertion. Someone called the police, I yelled, though I figured they already had. That's when I saw Richard at the side of the stage, looking at me with an expression I'd never seen before, a mixture of surprise and respect. The security guards finally reached us and took control of the stalker. I stood up, straightening my now wrinkled and ripped dress. My bun had completely come undone, and my hair fell in disarray around my shoulders. I then noticed that Vanessa was still on stage, visibly shaking. I approached her. Are you okay? I asked, placing a hand on his shoulder. She nodded, unable to speak, and then, unexpectedly, hugged me tightly. Thank you, she whispered in my ear. You saved my life. The room was still in chaos, but now uniformed officers were beginning to enter, taking control of the situation. I recognized some of my coworkers and quickly explained what had happened. As I was giving my statement to one of the officers, I noticed a man in an impeccable suit hurriedly approaching. He identified himself as Vanessa's head of security. Ma'am, we need to get Vanessa out of here immediately, he said, visibly worried. There's a car waiting at the VIP exit, but we need help to ensure she gets there safely. I looked around. The room was still in turmoil, with people crying, talking on phones, and being attended to by paramedics who were just arriving. The main exit was congested. I know this hotel, he said. I can take you to the VIP exit via a less crowded route. The security chief nodded gratefully. Vanessa, now wrapped in a dark coat to disguise her flashy gold dress, joined us. I led the small group through the hotel's service corridors, avoiding the public areas. My mind was focused on the task at hand, calculating the safest and most discreet route. As we walked, I noticed Richard and my mother following us. Rebecca, my mother called, her voice shaking with worry. Thank God you're okay. I'm fine, Mom, I replied quickly, without pausing. But now I need to help escort Miss Morrison out of the hotel. Let me help, Richard offered, surprising me. I know this hotel well. I'm a board member. I hesitated but accepted his help. Richard took the lead alongside the security chief, while I stayed close to Vanessa. My mother followed close behind, silent and worried. We reached a secluded hallway that led to the VIP exit. Richard entered a code into an electronic door, which opened to reveal a private elevator. This elevator goes directly to the underground garage, he explained. The car might be waiting there. The security chief made a quick call, confirming the car's new location. We all entered the elevator, the heavy silence between us reflecting the tension of the last few minutes. When the garage doors opened, a black SUV with tinted windows was already waiting, its engine running. Two burly men got out and stood protectively around Vanessa. Thank you for your help, the security chief said, shaking my hand firmly. You acted with courage and professionalism. Vanessa approached again, her eyes still teary. I don't even know how to thank you. You faced that man unarmed, risked your life for me. I just did my job, I replied, feeling the tiredness begin to weigh down my shoulders. If you ever need anything at all, ... She took a card from one of the security guards and wrote something on the back. This is my personal number. Please use it. I accepted the card with a nod of thanks. Vanessa got into the car, followed by the security chief, and within seconds the vehicle disappeared down the garage ramp. The three of us, my mother, Richard, and Ice, stood in the silent garage. The contrast with the chaos of just a few minutes ago almost surreal. My mother was the first. Rebecca, you could have gotten hurt. That man was armed. She hugged me tightly, her voice choked with emotion. I'm fine, Mom, I repeated, returning the hug. Really, when we parted, I noticed Richard watching me with an expression I couldn't quite decipher. He cleared his throat, looking away for a moment, as if gathering the courage to speak. Rebecca, I think I owe you an apology. I was surprised. Richard Wilson wasn't known for admitting mistakes or apologizing. Before all this happened, he continued, gesturing vaguely upward, I said ... thoughtless things. I said you didn't belong here. He paused, looking genuinely remorseful. I was wrong. Completely wrong. Richard ... I began, not quite sure how to respond. No, let me finish, he insisted. What you did up there, the way you handled that man, how you protected Vanessa Morrison, how you remained calm in the midst of chaos ... It was extraordinary. I just did what I was trained to do, I replied, still uncomfortable with the praise. And that's exactly it, Richard continued. You brought your experience, your courage, your dedication to an environment where most people only care about appearances and status. He looked at my mother, who was watching our conversation with tears in her eyes. Helena always told me how special you are, how dedicated you are to your work. I don't think I ever really wanted to see that. I felt a lump form in my throat. For years, I had felt judged by Richard, as if my career choice was somehow inferior to the corporate careers he valued. Hearing this recognition, especially after the night's events, stirred an unexpected emotion. Thank you, I managed to say, my voice quieter than I intended. Richard approached and, to my complete surprise, gave me an awkward but sincere hug. When he pulled away, there was a new expression on his face, one of genuine respect. Now, how about we get out of here? He suggested, looking around the cold, gray garage. I think we all need a stiff drink after what happened. My mother smiled, relieved by the change in atmosphere between us. I know a place not far from here, I suggested. It's not as fancy as the Fairmont, but they serve the best whiskey in town. Richard laughed. Sounds perfect. As we rode another elevator out of the hotel, I realized something had fundamentally changed that night. Not just between Richard and me, but also within me. For years, I felt like I'd lived in two separate worlds, the world of my profession and the world of my mother's new family. Perhaps for the first time, these worlds had met in a way that made sense. My phone vibrated in my dress pocket. It was a text message from an unknown number. I opened it and read, "Officer Alvarez, this is Chief Donovan. I heard about the incident at the Fairmont. We need to talk about your performance. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., my office." I put the phone away without commenting on the message. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges. For now, I just wanted to be with my family and process everything that had happened. As we walked out the side doors of the hotel, I saw police cars and ambulances still parked out front. Journalists were already gathering, eager for information. I looked away and headed in another direction, guiding my mother and Richard away from the spotlight. That night, as we sipped drinks at a small bar in the South End, I realized that perhaps Richard's comment had been partially true. I really didn't belong in that world of galas and champagne, but that wasn't a negative thing. I belonged where I could make a difference, where my skills would be useful. And that night, that was exactly where I was. The next morning, I woke to the blaring sound of my alarm clock. My head throbbed slightly, the aftermath of the previous night's drinks. I dragged myself to the bathroom, studying my reflection in the mirror, tired eyes. A small cut on my lower lip I hadn't even noticed I'd gotten during the fight with the stalker. As I took a hot shower, I let the water wash away the residual tension from the night's events. I put on my uniform with special care, checking every detail. Something told me the meeting with Chief Donovan would be important. I arrived at the police station 20 minutes before my scheduled time. The building was already bustling with officers coming and going, phones ringing, the familiar hum of a busy police station in full operation. Several colleagues stopped to greet me, some with pats on the back, others with friendly expletives of admiration. News of the incident at the Fairmont had already spread. "Hey, Alvarez," called Martinez, a veteran I often patrolled with. "You're all over the news today?" "What's it like?" I asked, confused. He showed me the front page of the Boston Globe on his tablet. There it was, a photo of me still in my dress, hair disheveled, pinning the stalker to the stage. The headline read, "Off-duty police officer neutralizes armed threat at charity gala." "Looks like you've become a celebrity," Martinez laughed. Comfortable with the attention, I muttered something inaudible and headed for Chief Donovan's office. His secretary, an efficient woman named Gloria, who had worked at the station longer than anyone else, saw me coming. "He's waiting for you," he said with a small smile, "and he's in a good mood, which is rare before noon." I knocked on the door and heard a resounding "come in." Chief Thomas Donovan was a stocky man in his 60s, with graying hair and a thick mustache that looked like it had been frozen in the 1980s. He was known for his demanding temperament, but also for his unwavering loyalty to his officers. "Alvarez," he said, gesturing for me to sit in the chair in front of his desk. "You know how to give the PR department a hard time, don't you?" I sat up straight in my chair, unsure if I was about to receive a compliment or a scolding. "Sir? Since last night, my phone hasn't stopped ringing. Reporters, the mayor, even the governor have... Everyone wants to know about the Fairmont police hero." He picked up the newspaper from his desk, the same photo Martinez had. "Shown me. Do you realize what you've done?" "Sir, I was just responding to an emergency." Any officer would have done the same. Donovan studied me for a moment, then gave a short laugh. "Modest as ever, Alvarez, but you and I both know better. Not every officer would risk his life, unarmed, to face a man with a gun drawn." He stood, walking to the window overlooking the busy street. "The suspect has been identified as Thomas Mercer, 42, with a history of untreated mental illness. He had been stalking Vanessa Morrison for over 2 years. Letters, emails, unwanted gifts. She even had a restraining order against him, but we know how effective those things can be." He turned back to me. "The gun was loaded, Alvarez. 6 bullets in the chamber. Do you know what that means?" I nodded slowly. "Which could have been a lot worse." "Exactly." He sat back down. "Which brings me to the reason for this meeting. The department wants to recognize your courage. You're being recommended for the Medal of Valor." I was momentarily speechless. The Medal of Valor was one of the highest honors a Boston police officer could receive. "Sir, I really don't think... I don't care what you think, Alvarez," he interrupted, a smile softening his words. "The decision has already been made. The ceremony will be next month. I nodded, still processing the information. But that's not all, Donovan, his tone shifting to something more serious. I've been observing your work for some time. Your dedication, your professionalism, your ability to remain calm in critical situations. Yesterday's incident only confirmed what I already suspected. He opened a drawer and took out a folder, placing it on the table. The Celebrity and Witness Protection Team has an opening. It's a position that requires discretion, intelligence, and the ability to anticipate problems before they happen. All qualities you've demonstrated. I looked at the folder in surprise. The PCT team was an elite unit within the department, responsible for ensuring the safety of key witnesses in criminal cases and, occasionally, public figures under threat. Are you offering me a promotion? I'm offering an opportunity, he corrected. The work is more demanding, the hours are unpredictable, and you'll be dealing with people in extremely vulnerable situations. It's not for everyone. I picked up the folder, feeling the weight of the decision I had to make. Can I think about it? You have until the end of the week. He pointed to the folder. All the details are there. Responsibilities, compensation, additional training requirements. Read carefully. I stood up, holding the folder tightly. Thank you for your trust, sir. Just as he was about to leave, Donovan called again. Oh, Alvarez. One more thing. There's someone waiting to speak with you in the conference room. Who? See for yourself. He smiled enigmatically. And whatever she wants, at least listen to her. She was quite insistent. Intrigued, I left the office and walked to the conference room at the end of the hallway. I opened the door and nearly dropped my briefcase in surprise. Sitting at the table, dressed in jeans, a simple white blouse, and sunglasses that didn't quite disguise her identity, was Vanessa Morrison. Beside her was the same head of security from the night before. Officer Alvarez, she smiled, standing to... Or may I call you Rebecca? Rebecca is fine, I replied, still processing the surprise of seeing her there in my station. What can I do for you, Miss Morrison? Please call me Vanessa. She gestured to the chair across from her. Can I steal a few minutes of your time? I sat down, placing the folder on the table. Sure. The head of security, who introduced himself as David Miller, spoke first. Rebecca, after yesterday's incident, we conducted a thorough review of our security protocols. Clearly, there were flaws that allowed Mercer to get so close. Vanessa continued. What we want to say is that your performance yesterday was ... extraordinary. You acted with courage and presence of mind when all the safety systems around me failed. I just did my job, I repeated, starting to feel uncomfortable with so much praise in a single day. And that's why we're here, David interjected. We'd like to hire your services. I looked at him, confused. My services? I'm a police officer, Mr. Miller. I don't work as a private security guard. We understand that, Vanessa said. Softly, but I'm starting a world tour in 2 weeks. 30 cities, 12 countries. After what happened, I don't feel safe with the current team. No offense, he added quickly, looking at David. But we need someone with your kind of training and instincts, someone who can spot threats before they materialize. We're willing to offer an extremely generous contract, David continued. Temporary leave from the department, all expenses paid, and a salary that ... He wrote a number on a piece of paper and slid it to me. I looked at the number and nearly choked. It was more than I would earn in 5 years as a police officer. That's very kind, but ... I hesitated, thinking about the folder Chief Donovan had just handed me. I just received an offer to join the Celebrity and Witness Protection Team here at the department. Vanessa and David exchanged glances. I see, Vanessa said, her disappointment visible. Congratulations on the promotion. You deserve it. I haven't accepted yet, I clarified. I have until the end of the week to decide. An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. It was David who broke it. What if we could offer you something other than money? Something that would help your career in the long run? Like what? International experience in high-risk security, training with the best teams in each country we visit, a network of contacts that few police officers have access to, and the guarantee that when the tour ends, you'll have a letter of recommendation that will open doors in any police department or federal agency in the country. I considered the offer. It was tempting. I couldn't refuse. The opportunity to gain international experience, learn about other security approaches, and broaden my professional horizon, all while earning a salary that would finally allow me to pay off the student loan that still haunted me. How long would this tour last? I asked, beginning to seriously consider the possibility. 6 months, David replied. We started in New York, then the West Coast, Asia, Europe, and ended in South America. Vanessa leaned forward, her eyes revealing a vulnerability she hadn't expected to see in a star of her caliber. Rebecca, I know I'm asking a lot. You have your life, your career here, but after what happened yesterday, the way you handled the situation, how you stood between me and danger without hesitation, ... double quotes. She paused, visibly moved. I feel like I can trust you, and trust is something I don't have much of in my life. His words struck me in a way I hadn't expected. Throughout my entire law enforcement career, I'd always wanted to make a difference, protect people, be useful. And here was someone who specifically needed me, my skills, my experience. Can I think about it? I finally asked. I also have until the end of the week to respond about the other position. Of course, David nodded, handing me a card. This is my direct contact. The formal offer is being sent to your personal email with all the contract details. We stood up, and Vanessa extended her hand to shake mine. When I shook her hand, she held on a little longer than necessary. I really hope you accept, Rebecca, but I'll understand if you choose to stay. After they left, I remained in the conference room a few minutes, trying to process everything that had happened in the last 24 hours. From being an ordinary police officer at a gala event where I didn't feel welcome, to being considered for 2 prestigious positions. My phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. It was my mother. Rebecca, dear, have you seen the papers? You're all over them. Yes, Mom, they already showed me, I replied, unable to help but smile. Richard and I are so proud. He even called some friends at the police department to praise your performance. Can you believe that? I was genuinely surprised. Richard did this? Yes. He's completely transformed since yesterday. He won't stop talking about how brave and professional you were. She paused. He's really sorry for what he said before the ... incident. Tell him it's okay, I replied, feeling that, for the first time, maybe it really was. We're thinking about having dinner on Sunday to celebrate. What do you think? Sounds great, Mom. But I have some news that might complicate things a bit. I told her about the 2 offers I had received. My mother was silent for a moment. Wow, impressive. Both sound like wonderful opportunities. Yes, and now I need to decide which one to follow. What are you feeling? Which one is your heart pointing to? I sighed. I don't know. The position in the department is a natural progression in my career, something I've always wanted. But Vanessa's offer, it's a unique opportunity, something that could open doors I never imagined existed. Well, my mother said in that soft voice she always used when she wanted to help me organize my thoughts, maybe you should make a list of pros and cons for each one. You've always been methodical like that. That's a good idea, I agree. I'll think about it carefully. After hanging up, I returned to my desk, where I found more colleagues wanting details about the incident at the Fairmont. I answered their questions politely, but briefly. My mind was occupied with the decision I needed to make. At the end of the workday, I decided to walk home instead of taking the subway. The cool October air helped clear my thoughts. I passed a small park and sat on a bench watching the leaves fall from the trees, gold and red, heralding the change of season. Change. That was exactly what lay before me now. Whatever I chose, my life would take a complete different path than I had planned. I picked up my phone and called the one person who always helped me see things clearly in moments of doubt. Sophia, do you have time for coffee? I need your opinion on something important. Sophia Rodriguez had been my best friend since Academy. Now she worked in the cybercrimes division, and she always had a different perspective than I did on practically everything. We met at a coffee shop near the Sophia was already there when I arrived, with her characteristic short black hair and ever-alert expression. 2 steaming coffees awaited us. So, she said as soon as I sat down, the heroine of the Fairmont herself. I am honored by your presence. I rolled my eye. Please, not you too, she laughed. Sorry, I couldn't resist. But seriously, Becca, what you did was amazing. Everyone at the station is talking about it. That's what I want to talk about, actually. I told her about the 2 offers. Sophia whistled softly when I finished. Wow, Becca. 2 dream job offers in one day? The universe is really rewarding you. The problem is that I don't know which one to choose. She sipped her coffee thoughtfully. Well, let's analyze this. The PCT position is stable, prestigious within the department, and a natural progression in your career. You'd stay in Boston, close to your mother and your friends. It's the safe path. What about the other option? The other is an adventure. 6 months traveling the world, seeing new places, learning different approaches to security, a salary that would solve your financial problems, experience that few police officers have. It's the bold path. She looked me straight in the eye. The question, Becca, is who do you want to be? The cop who followed the expected path, or the one who took a chance on something new when the opportunity presented itself? His words resonated with me. When you put it that way, ... Look, you've always been the good one between us. The one who follows the rules, the one who does everything by the book. And that's made you an excellent cop. Sophia paused. But sometimes I wonder if you're limiting yourself, following only the path you think you should follow. What do you mean? Remember when we were in academia and you talked about wanting to make a difference in different ways? Working internationally, maybe even with Interpol one day? She smiled. You had big dreams, Becca. Maybe this is your chance to start realizing them. I fell silent, remembering those late-night conversations in the academy dorm. I had ambitious dreams back then, but they were gradually replaced by the daily grind of being a police officer in Boston. Do you think I should accept Vanessa's offer? Sophia shrugged. I can't decide for you. I just think you should seriously consider it. The PCT will be here when you get back, if that's what you still want. But an opportunity like this, with Vanessa Morrison, that doesn't come around twice in a lifetime. We continued talking for another hour, discussing the details of each offer, the implications for my long-term career, and the challenges I would face along each path. When we parted, I still hadn't made a final decision, but I felt closer. On the way home, my phone rang again. It was a number I didn't recognize. Rebecca Alvarez, I answered. Officer Alvarez, this is Samantha Lewis, the mayor's aide. Mayor Thompson would like to meet with you tomorrow for coffee in his office. Would that be possible? I was momentarily speechless. The mayor of Boston wanted to meet with me? Yes, of course. What time? Would 11 a.m. be convenient? Perfectly. Excellent. Please come to the mayor's office at City Hall. Someone will meet you at the entrance. After hanging up, I felt a new wave of anxiety. What could the mayor possibly want from me? Was it just to thank me for the incident at the Fairmont? Or was there something more? I arrived home still ruminating over all these possibilities. My small apartment in Jamaica Plain, with its stacked books and plants that miraculously survived my chaotic routine, was my refuge. I threw myself onto the couch, physically and emotionally exhausted. I opened my laptop to check my emails, and as promised, there was David Miller's formal offer to work as Vanessa Morrison's personal security guard. The contract details were even more impressive than what had been mentioned during our conversation. Besides the generous salary, there were additional benefits: premium health insurance, luxury hotel accommodations throughout the tour, and a substantial bonus at the end of the contract if all went well. There was also an email from the Boston Police Department's Human Resources Department detailing the PCT position. As I expected, it was a solid offer, with a modest but significant salary increase over my current position and the promise of career advancement within the department. I did what my mother suggested. I created a table with pros and cons for each offer. On one side, stability, continued growth, proximity to family, and on the other, adventure, unique experience, international knowledge, and a solution to my financial problem. When I finished, the two sides seemed perfectly balanced. The decision wouldn't be easy. That night, I had a vivid dream. I was on stage at the Fairmont again, facing the stalker, but this time I was wearing a police uniform instead of the black dress. As I pinned the man down, I looked out into the audience and saw faces from different places: New York, London, Tokyo, Paris, all applauding. I woke with the feeling that my subconscious was trying to tell me something. The next morning, I donned my most impeccable uniform for my meeting with the mayor. I arrived at City Hall promptly at 10:45 a.m. and was ushered into a small waiting room adjacent to the main office. At 11 a.m. sharp, I was ushered into the office of Mayor Michael Thompson, a man in his 50s with an easy smile and infectious energy that partly explained his popularity. "Officer Alvarez!" he exclaimed, standing to greet me. "It's a pleasure to finally meet you in person. The honor is mine, Mr. Mayor. Please have a seat. Coffee?" I accepted, and he himself poured 2 cups, a gesture that surprised me. "I imagine you're wondering why I called you here today," he said, sitting behind his imposing desk. "I confess I do, sir. Well, first of all, I wanted to thank you personally for what you did at the Fairmont. Your courage saved lives and prevented a tragedy that would have tarnished the name of our city. I was just doing my duty. Mr. Mayor, your modesty is admirable, officer, but we both know you went far beyond the call of duty." He took a sip of coffee. "I understand you've received an offer to join the PCT team." I nodded, surprised that he was already informed. I also learned unofficially that Vanessa Morrison offered him a position as her personal security guard during her world tour. I was even more surprised. How could he know that? Seeing my expression, the mayor smiled. "Boston may be a big city, Officer Alvarez, but in certain circles, news travels fast. Richard Wilson is an old friend of mine." Of course, Richard had probably told him about Vanessa's visit to the police station. "Well, the reason I called you here today is to make a third proposal." I almost choked on my coffee. "A third offer?" As you may know, Boston is bidding to host a major international event next year. We'll have heads of state, celebrities, and business people from all over the world here. We need to assemble an elite security team with the city's best professionals. He opened a folder on his desk. "I'd like to invite you to be part of this team's coordination team. You'll work directly with the Secret Service, FBI, and other federal agencies. It would be a temporary position, lasting a year, but it would open significant doors for your career." I looked at him, genuinely surprised. "Mr. Mayor, I'm flattered, but why me? There are more experienced officers in the department because you've demonstrated exactly the kind of initiative, courage, and presence of mind we're looking for. And frankly, having the Fairmont hero on our team would be great for the city's image." He smiled. "Besides, Chief Donovan speaks highly of you." Another offer to consider. My head was spinning with the possibilities. "May I think about it, sir?" "Of course. But I must warn you, Officer Alvarez, that you may not have as much time as you'd like. Details are here. The pay is competitive, though it probably doesn't compare to what Vanessa Morrison can offer. But the prestige and connections I would make in this position would be invaluable." I left City Hall with my head even more confused than before. 3 offers, 3 completely different career paths. How could I choose? I decided to walk to Boston Common to gather my thoughts. The park was full of people enjoying one of the last pleasant days before winter arrived in full force. Sat on a bench, watching children playing, tourists taking photos, and locals walking their dogs. That's when I noticed a man sitting on another bench not far from me. Something about his demeanor caught my attention. The way he scanned the people around him, the way he kept one hand tucked inside his... My police instincts immediately kicked in. Surreptitiously, I shifted my position to get a better look at him. He seemed to be watching a woman walking with a small child. When the woman stopped to tie the child's shoe, the man stood up and began to approach. Without thinking twice, I also got up and intercepted the man before he reached the woman. "Excuse me, sir," I said, showing my badge. "Can I ask you a few questions?" The man looked surprised and nervous. "I didn't do anything. Just a routine check," I insisted, positioning myself to block his access to the woman and child. "Could you show me some identification, please?" He hesitated, then slowly removed his hand from his coat. To my relief, there was no gun, just a wallet. He handed me his ID, James Parker, 38. I quickly ran his name through the system on my phone. No outstanding warrants, no criminal record. But that didn't mean his intentions were good. "What are you doing in the park today, Mr. Parker?" "Just watching people." "It's not a crime, is it?" There was something in his voice, in his gaze, that didn't convince me. "I noticed you were specifically watching that woman and the child. Can you tell?" "Me why?" He paled. She Double quotes, he hesitated, then his shoulders slumped. She's my ex-wife and my daughter. I have a restraining order. I can't come within 100 yards of them. Now it all made sense. So you're deliberately violating a court order? I just wanted to see my daughter. His voice cracked. I haven't been allowed to see her in 6 months. Despite the situation, I felt a twinge of sympathy. Mr. Parker, I understand you want to see your daughter, but this isn't the right way. You're scaring your ex-wife and breaking the law. You don't understand, he insisted. She made up stories about me to get sole custody. I would never hurt my own daughter. If there is injustice in your case, you need to resolve it through the appropriate legal channel. Following your ex-wife will only make your situation worse. He looked down, defeated. I know you're right, but I've tried everything. Lawyers, mediation, nothing works. I thought for a moment. Technically, I should arrest James Parker for violating the restraining order, but something told me there was more to this story than met the eye. Here's what I'll do, I decided. I won't arrest you today, but you need to leave the park immediately and not attempt to contact me again. I'll refer you to a free legal aid program that specifically works with contentious custody cases. I wrote down the contact information on a piece of paper and handed it to him. Ask for attorney Maria Gonzalez. Tell her Officer Alvarez recommended you. She'll review your case impartially. Why are you helping me? He asked, confused. Because part of my job is to distinguish between people who pose a real danger and those who simply made mistakes out of desperation. I looked him in the eye. Don't waste this opportunity. If I learn you violated the order again, there will be no second chance. After James Parker left the park, I watched from afar to make sure he was truly gone. Then I discreetly approached the woman, identified myself, and briefly explained the situation without mentioning that I had released her ex-husband. He was here? She asked, frightened, hugging her daughter close. My God, he follows us everywhere. Ma'am, would you like to file a formal report? She hesitated. What good would that do? I already have a restraining order, and what good was that? He keeps showing up. I understand your frustration, but every documented violation strengthens your... I handed him my card. If he shows up again, call me directly. After she walked away, I sat back down on the bench, deep in thought. That brief incident had reminded me of why I became a police officer, to be on the front lines, protecting people, making difficult judgments, trying to do the right thing in complex situations. Any of the 3 offers I'd received would have taken me away from that everyday reality. On the PCT team, I'd be protecting witnesses and public figures, but in a much more controlled environment. With Vanessa Morrison, I'd be responsible for a single person. On the mayor's security team, I'd be more involved in planning and coordination than in fieldwork. Each option offered clear advantages for my career, but all would take me away from what I valued most about my current job: the direct connection to the community, the ability to make a difference in the lives of ordinary people every day. I came home with this new perspective. Who did I really want to be as a police officer? What kind of difference did I want to make in the world? I looked at the 3 folders on my desk: PCT, Vanessa Morrison, Mayor, and realized I needed more information, more advice, before making such an important decision. That night, I prepared a simple dinner and called my Uncle Jose, my father's older brother. He had been a police officer for 35 years before retiring and had always been my mentor and advisor. Uncle Joe's, do you have time to talk? I need your wisdom. For you, niece, I always have time. I explained the 3 offers and my dilemmas in detail. He listened patiently, without interrupting. Rebecca, he said finally, these are extraordinary opportunities and you deserve them all. But let me ask you, when you close your eyes and picture yourself 10 years from now, what do you see? The question took me by surprise. I had never thought that far ahead. I'm not sure, I admitted. I've always focused on the present, on being the best police officer I can be right now. And that's admirable. But maybe it's time to think further ahead. Which of these opportunities would take you to where you really want to be in the future? How can I know where I want to be if I don't even know what doors each of these opportunities can open? Oh, but, Rebecca, deep down, your father also faced difficult choices in his career. He always said that when making decisions, he didn't think about prestige or salary, but about where he could make the biggest difference. My father Even so many years after his death, his example still guided my most important choices. What would he choose? My uncle laughed softly. He wouldn't choose for you, dear. He'd tell you to listen to your heart, not your head. After hanging up, I reflected on his words. My heart, not my head. My head was weighing pros and cons, salaries and benefits, career opportunity. But my heart, ... What was it saying? The next morning, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in days. I knew what I needed to do. I called Chief Donovan, David Miller, and the mayor's aide, scheduling meetings with each of them for the same day. It was time to make my decision and communicate it in person. My first stop was Chief Donovan's office. He greeted me with a look that suggested he already knew what I was going to say. Sir, I came to thank you for the opportunity to join the PCT team. It is an honor to be considered. But, he prompted, already realizing what was coming next. But, I decided to take another path, at least for now. He nodded, not looking particularly surprised. The pop singer's offer? Not really. I'll decline all 3 offers. That really surprised him. All 3, including the mayor? Yes, sir. After much reflection, I've realized I'm not ready to leave the streets just yet. It's where I feel I make the biggest difference, where my heart is. Donovan studied me for a moment, then let out a short laugh. You know, Alvarez, when the mayor called me about you, I bet him you'd turn down every offer. Did you bet? Yes. I've known you long enough to know you're not the kind of cop who seeks prestige or prominent positions. You're like your father in that way. Did you know my father? I asked, surprised. Briefly, early in my career, he was respected by everyone, not for his position, but for the integrity with which he did his job. I see a lot of him in you. His words touched me more than I'd like to. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet. I have an alternative proposal for you. Other? Yes, but this one is different. We're forming a new unit specializing in stalking and stalker protection. After the incident at the Fairmont, I thought your experience would be valuable to the group. It's not an official promotion, and the salary is the same, but it offers the opportunity to specialize in an area where you clearly have talent. An anti-stalking unit. The idea immediately intrigued me. It would be a chance to help people, like Vanessa Morrison, without abandoning my job at the department, without alienating myself from the community I was sworn to protect. That interests me very much, sir. Great. It's a pilot project, so we'll have to build a lot from scratch. I thought you might like the challenge. I left Donovan's office with a sense of peace I hadn't felt in days. Now, I needed to communicate my decision to the others. David Miller received the news professionally, though clearly disappointed. Vanessa will be devastated, he commented. But I respect her decision, and the door will remain open if she changes her mind. The meeting with the mayor's aide was brief and cordial. She seemed less surprised than expected. The mayor figured this would happen. He admires your dedication to grassroots work. At the end of the day, I called my mother to tell her my decision. To my surprise, Richard answered the phone. Rebecca, your mother is in the shower. Do you want me to ask her to come back? No, it's okay. I can talk to you too. I just wanted to let you know that I've made a decision about the job offers. And what was it? I decided to stay in the department, but in a new unit specializing in stalking cases. There was a moment of silence, then, that doesn't surprise me. After seeing you in action at the Fairmont, I realized you're someone who values the direct impact of your work, not titles or positions. Thank you for understanding, Richard. I understand and I admire you, Rebecca, and I'd like to apologize again for what I said that night. I was completely wrong about you. Water under the bridge. Sunday dinner is still on, he added. Now, we have even more to celebrate. That night, sitting in my small apartment, I reflected on the extraordinary week I'd experienced. From being an ordinary police officer at an event where I didn't feel welcome, to someone who'd received 3 prestigious job offers and chosen to forge her own path. Life had curious ways of showing us where we truly belonged. My phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. It was an unknown number. Rebecca Alvarez, I answered. Rebecca? This is Vanessa Morrison. I was surprised. I didn't expect her to call personally. Hello, Vanessa. David already talked to me and explained that I declined the offer. I hope you understand, ... I understand perfectly, she interrupted, her voice soft. Actually, I'm calling to thank you. Thank you for refusing? She laughed lightly. No. Thank you for showing me what really matters. You risked your life for me when you didn't even know me, and now you've chosen to stay where you believe you can help more people, instead of taking the more lucrative or prestigious path. It's just who I am, I replied, not knowing what else to say. That's who I wish I could be too, she confessed. I spent so much time worrying about my career, about my image, that I almost forgot why I started singing, to make a difference in people's lives. Through music, there was a moment of comfortable silence between us. You know, Vanessa continued, I've decided that after this tour, I'm going to take a sabbatical. I want to work more on social causes, use my platform for something more meaningful. That sounds wonderful, I replied sincerely. I'm sure it will make a difference. And all because of what happened that night, because of your example. She paused. Do you still have my personal number? I'd like to stay in touch if you don't mind. Maybe when I get back to Boston, we can have coffee. I'd like that, I replied, surprised at the turn our conversation had taken. After hanging up, I stared out the window at the lights of the city I had sworn to protect. Boston, with its contrasts, its problems, its my city. A week ago, I'd felt completely out of place at that gala, as if I didn't belong in that elegant world. My stepfather had verbalized what I felt. You don't belong here. At that moment, his words had hurt, because they seemed to confirm my own insecurities. But now I understood that Richard was right, albeit for different reasons than he'd imagined. I truly didn't belong in that world of superficiality and appearances. I belonged in the community, in those crucial moments where I could make the difference between tragedy and hope. The next day, I'd put on my uniform again and begin a new phase of my career. I wouldn't be protecting celebrities on world tours or working with international authorities, but I'd be exactly where I needed to be, helping ordinary people whose lives were devastated by stalkers and persecutors, using my experience to build something new and necessary. As I prepared for bed, I smiled at the irony. The stalker who had tried to hurt Vanessa Morrison had inadvertently helped me find my true path. Sometimes, it's in the most unexpected moments that we discover not only who we are, but where we truly belong. And I finally belonged.